Welcome to Planning Commission meeting for the March 18th, 2026 meeting. We'll start this meeting off with a prayer from Commissioner Mitchell and a pledge from Commissioner Davis.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful to have this opportunity to meet tonight for Planning Commission and land use meetings. We're grateful to be here. We're thankful for the opportunity to be involved in these departments. We pray as we go throughout our meeting tonight, throughout the agenda, that we can cover each item and that thoughts and ideas can be shared in a productive way, that we can help to better our city. We're grateful for all those who continue to serve and help out in our city, and pray that would continue to help us all, that we can do our part. We thank thee in this, we pray and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
All right, before we start and I look for approval of the agenda, we need to modify the agenda a little bit and move 4B in front of 4A. Just, it'll all make sense in a minute if we can get do we need a motion on that?
Yeah, if you'll ask the commission to just move to amend as you outlined.
Yeah, move to amend it. So we will do 4B, then 4A.
In that motion?
No, I need to have a motion. I can't make a motion.
It's Commissioner Davis. I move that we switch places in the agenda for Planning Commission to move 4B into the first spot and move 4A down to the former spot, 4B.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now I need an approval, a motion to approve the agenda now that we've modified it.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I move that we approve tonight's agenda with the modifications noted.
Davis seconds.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 2 is approval of the Planning Commission minutes from March 4th, 2026. We've had those and had a chance to look over them and look for a motion to approve.
It's Commissioner Davis. I move that we approve the Planning Commission minutes from March 4th, 2026.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I second.
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3 is declaration of abstentions and conflicts. Does anyone have any with tonight's meeting? All right. So item 4B, the reason we move this to the front is the applicant has asked us to table this again until the 15th. There was some sort of medical emergency with him. So we're going to table it until April 15th, and this will be the last time that they can table it without re-going through everything and doing it all over again. Correct?
That's correct. The decision to table is the commission's to make, and if the commission feels like it's not appropriate, they can decline that tonight if they would like. It is a practice of the city to allow an applicant up to 2 tables. And I might want to just explain the policy under that is at some point, the purpose of a public hearing and the public information just gets lost the longer we let things wait and dangle. And so that's kind of an unwritten rule, but it's one that we've followed. We don't usually get there. The city is aware of the medical incident for the applicant, and we believe that to be a truthful thing and an impactful thing. And so that also leans into the recommendation that you table it again.
So we'll need a motion to table this.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I move that we table this item. It's 4B until our next meeting, which will be April 15th.
Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
I have a first by Commissioner Mitchell, second by Commissioner Tupou. Individual voting, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Mitchell. Commissioner Tupou. Commissioner Ure.
Aye.
Commissioner Bullock, I'm an aye as well. So you people that are here for the item 4B. Yeah. it will- it will-
Item 4B is the Antigua Lane zone change. Some of you were here before when we told you come back on and we'll take care of it. That's being continued one more time to April 15th. Go ahead, sir. Not on the substance of it. I can answer process questions for you.
We're present, the person that wants to table till then, why aren't they present?
Because he's had an amputation. Thank you.
Yeah, we,
Can't argue.
Neither is the city. Yeah, try to be fair and just in our process. Again, I'm not taking questions on the content. I'll take questions on the process just so I can make sure you're informed. Sir?
Are you saying you're extending George Washington and Antigua Lane lot, you're extending that?
I'm saying the applicant has asked that it be continued till April 15th, and the commission has voted on a motion to approve that continuation till April 15th. Yep, sir?
It will be the same as this meeting where there's no public notice. This is only the only notification we're receiving on April 15th.
Correct. This meeting's proceedings tonight are the notice to the public. Ma'am?
There's no process to notify when you're moving an item? Is it because you had to vote on it here?
There was a process. You just witnessed the process. Yeah,
So there's no way for us to have notice in advance to show up and then?
correct. Yeah.
Very annoying.
ma'am? This will be the second. This is the first table.
Second table, it'll be the third meeting. So they had their initial first meeting that was noticed by mailings. That was tabled till tonight. Tonight's table, we'll give it a third date, but it was only the second table. You follow that math? Let me explain it again. There's been, with today's tabling, there's now a third meeting date. The first meeting date was the meeting date that was sent out in mailers and noticed publicly as a public hearing. That was tabled to a second meeting date, which is tonight's date. Tonight's table will table that meeting to a third meeting date. So there's been two tables, but three meeting dates, because the first meeting date wasn't a tabled date, it was just the first scheduled date for the public hearing.
Then you will take comments at that meeting.
The commission's welcome to do that if they choose. Any other questions on the process? Thank you. It's important to me that you understand it, especially when you're here, so I'm happy to answer those questions. Thank you.
We'll let them clear out and we'll start.
Commissioners, if you have ideas on contribution to future policy changes on how we do things like that, I think that those would be welcome and we can try and work on, see if there's changes you'd like to make. I think the biggest challenge becomes the question of mailing it out every time. And perhaps we do something like attach to the applicant's request a table, the requirement that there be enough time as well as the expense paid by the applicant to renotice it, for example, right? And so if you have ideas there, let's not let those stop tonight. Let's keep those in mind and see if there's changes that you would like to see.
I like that idea of the second, if they're going to table it the second time, that they should have to the applicant should have to pay to re-notice it. But in this sense, where it was medical I don't feel like,
Yeah.
you know,
How long ago did the city find out about the medical issue?
Do you know when that was?
It was that first initial hearing is when we found out about it, the day of.
So it got tabled, but then we found out there was a medical issue.
Remember, he wasn't present? Yeah, that,
But 2 weeks, it seems to me like we could easily have
we had a
a
month.
page online for each issue that when something happens that changes, we can immediately update. We can keep that page like live real time all the time. So if there's any changes, we're posting it there. And then everybody else can just go to that before they
unverified.
time their schedule, because it's super annoying to have this many people come out and then to have to close that. It's just, hey, I wonder about something like that.
Your ideas for better ways, Eldon and I, or to Eldon, and he and I can work on those, and I imagine some form of just a written policy document that the commission adopts that applies when there's tablings of an agenda item.
One thing I think we could do is anybody that comes for a particular application, if it gets tabled, I mean, we're already taking like roll and stuff, I mean, people that are here, they can put their name, like their emails down on there, and maybe we send out an email when the next meeting will be, so that way we don't have to mail out a notification, but at least the people who are here can get re-notified by email. If they want to, just say if anyone wants to be re-noticed, leave your email.
I like that because then it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
Something to keep in mind, though, we can't officially table an item until you, as the body, approves that. So
Right.
if there's any gray area that, may not be certain that it's going to be tabled, it's hard to.
Unless they're sick. I think you say, hey, if anyone wants to re-notice, put your email.
Yeah, because they're not gonna know. I mean, you do forget about the notice. I like that idea.
So tonight's meeting was set in stone 2 weeks ago. It was
It
4
was a
weeks,
month ago.
4 weeks ago, right? And
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it was a month.
of tonight's meeting date and that agenda item, and staff cannot take that off at their administrative level. That's something that the commission sets and adds and removes, and so I believe that there probably are newer and better ways to get information out there. We could give a notice such as the applicants requested for a table, and per policy of the planning commission, it appears to meet the policy, and so we anticipate that the commission will approve it because it meets their policy. We could do a notice like that. Real concerned citizens, they probably ought to show up anyway, just to make sure, right? But yeah, I think there's things we could probably do that are a little better than just have them all show up and then send them away till another one.
Maybe they could also submit their concern to be included in the next meeting. If they can't make it.
And that's another one where this is a good example for discussion, because at the table, we also were informed that there might be some changes coming forth, right? And so if I were one of these citizens, I'd be cautious to not let that discussion of changes happen without me present either. So I would want to make sure I make the meeting, and probably feel some frustration that I made the meeting and it still didn't happen. And so I don't know that we can solve all of those issues, but I think if a city can be better at information and better at notification, it's probably something we should take pride in if we can.
I wonder if there's room in the bylaws to make executive decisions without getting a quorum together and making a formal decision like that. I wonder if there's room, if we know it's likely to be tabled and we know that there's a practice where it is, like I wonder if there's bylaws to create a mechanism whereby it simplifies to put something on the agenda that says issue likely to be tabled or whatever.
I think a policy could create that clarity if we don't already have it. Even if it was a policy that just said, on written request of the chairman, the chairman is authorized to table something up to 2 times, right? So just because one of your leaders, the commission's chairman, and then he just let you know, hey, staff informed me of these circumstances. On that basis, I've tabled this, so it'll be off your next agenda. That would give us some clarity to let people know too, before the meeting's actually impaneled.
Yeah, it just depends on how long we know beforehand too, because if it was, how many times does that happen the night of that they want to table it and they don't let you know weeks out?
Yeah, tonight's reason is, I would say, one of the rare reasons. The most common reason, I think, is an applicant that sees some adversity and maybe wants to go retool some things before the hearing and the vote, right? That's probably the most common reason that a table ends up happening, is it gets to where there's adversity, and rather than go to a vote, they want to rejig a little bit. That's probably the most common, and the city's been willing to let applicants do that because it appears that they're trying to be responsive to the feedback, right? And I would argue that that's probably a good reason to table, is to let them try and go adjust to some feedback. Tonight's is an interesting one because, yeah, we are aware of medical reasons, at least in addition to other reasons that might be out there.
Yeah, and 2 tables is just so different than 1. Two in a row, that's brutal.
Yep.
All right.
Forward your ideas. Eldon and I'll work on something and see if we can come up with a plan. Hopefully we aren't trying to get too good at tables, because hopefully they aren't very common.
All right, item 4A is the request to amend City Code 10-3-3 preliminary plat form and content. Applicant's Bush and Gudgel, and it was reviewed by Eldon. I guess I'll let you take it over.
Thank you, Commissioners. I just want to reiterate the applicant is Bush and Gudgel here. And to kick that off here, we met with the applicant on this piece here to discuss development. And in this pre-development meeting, the 15-foot required landscape strip came up. And 2 examples here of what a double frontage lot is just north of Whammers. Some of you may not know what a double frontage lot is, so I just kind of want to explain that and be clear as to what we're proposing to amend. So just north here, we've got 2 subdivision, Desert Meadows, which is on the right of this photo. And that's a 15-foot landscape buffer. I hope you guys have had a chance to drive past that and kind of visualize the depth of that 15-foot. And then on the left-hand side of the screen is Heritage Place, and that's a 10-foot landscape strip. As you get closer to Heritage, or the gas station here, Whammers, it kind of widens up and turns into like a 12 or 13-foot strip, but to the north there is a true 10-foot. These are great examples as they're side by side and allows us to see the 15-foot compared to the 10-foot. 2 more examples of this are down south off of Hayfield Drive. This red dot here, again on both sides of the street, these examples are 10-foot wide landscape strips currently in place. And with that, the applicant has asked to amend the 15-foot requirement to 10 feet. The new verbiage of this section of the code would read that this landscaping shall show a minimum 10-foot landscape strip along the boundary of the subdivision where the proposed plan shows double frontage lots. The landscape strip shall be designed to have a minimum of 10% live growth in the form of trees, shrubs, or ground cover. And staff supports this amendment as we feel the depth there is minimal, as the average person typically doesn't recognize that 5-foot difference, and the sound attenuation impact would be minimal. And I'm happy to answer any further questions you may have.
So is it only the 15 foot on the straight zoning, and because it's a PUD, they get to offset it and go to the 10 foot? Is that why we're having them side by side?
The standard is 15 foot. PUD, they have the option to ask for relief there, kind of a give and take. So quite often those PUDs come in with a 10-foot landscape strip, which is why we have those in the city. They've been given that 10 foot. If they don't ask for the 10 foot in their PUD, they're held to the 15-foot standard.
Okay. You guys have any thoughts on it?
I have some thoughts on it. I'm against it. I do notice the difference between the 10 and 15 feet. This is actually a really good example. It's by my home, and I drive by it all the time. And what I've noticed is that when you do the 10-foot strip, you can basically plant a bush in the middle of it. And that's different than when there's a 15-foot strip where you can do layers. And I think especially on a big corridor like Washington Fields Road, it makes a difference in how it feels when you're driving down that road. When you've got landscaping that goes that creates a little bit more of a buffer between you and whatever is in that person's backyard, whether it's RVs or a big fence or whatever else is there that's conflicting with what is now happening on the other side of that fence on this big thoroughfare. I think that it does make a difference, and I know, it was put forward that, most people's eyes won't notice that. And I think in some contexts that's true. It depends on how rich the landscaping is and whatever, but I've noticed that when it's a 10-foot strip, it often turns into gravel with a bush up the middle of it. And I don't think that that is enough on a big road like this. I think it's nice to have discretion at times for PUD when you can make exceptions on other roads where it's less important and you need a little less of a buffer. But where we've got a major thoroughfare right here, I think when you're going down right there and I look on the left versus the right, it feels different. And it's one of those little nuanced things that stack up over time that create the whole vibe of our city and that determine how it feels to drive around on our roads. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to share. I think that's basically how I feel about it.
This is Commissioner Davis. I just had a similar observation to what you were saying as I was looking at these as well. And what is officially the relationship between the sidewalk and then when you have these strips? Are they typically congruent, or do we just not necessarily, it all kind of depends on where you are and what's been, I guess, negotiated and agreed upon?
Yeah, there's a lot of different standards. As we were out driving around looking at landscape strips, some of the sidewalks are meandering through the landscaping. Some of the developments have given a designated right-hand turn, such as Queens Ridge. So some of their landscape starts off at, a 20, 25 foot and then narrows down to a 10 to accommodate. There's a lot of moving factors here.
So and at what point is it required? Is it the size of the road that it borders? Or is it strictly on all subdivisions, you got the 15 foot? I
And
was just trying to visualize, like even just a little bit further north on this road, when you get to Heritage Fields, is their landscaping still 10 feet or does it eventually dive back into 15?
It's smaller.
it's back in, old standards. You slip through, get the standard that they're held to today is any lot that's double fronting. So if your driveway's internal to the subdivision and the backyards butting up to one of these major corridors, we're requiring that 15-foot landscape strip.
And then I apologize, and Pete might have just asked the same question in the first, but why was 115 on this side and then the other side of the street 10?
The one on the right is straight zoned. Couldn't ask if they were held to the standard. The one on the left's PUD. So they came in with their zoning showing a 10-foot landscape strip, and it was approved that way.
And is that from back of curb or back of sidewalk? Is that what?
It's usually a foot off the back of sidewalk, depending on where the right-of-way ends. Sometimes it's 1 foot beyond the sidewalk. This larger road, it's probably 2 feet beyond the sidewalk, because the right-of-way is just a little bit bigger there.
So, I mean, we got your standard sidewalks, 4 feet? 5? So then you only have 5 feet of landscape basically after that, or is it 10 feet? So we're 15 from back of curb, 10 from back of sidewalk on straight zoning, or on the 10-foot. That's my question. That's where I'm confused. Yeah, if you got the answer. Thanks, Bob.
Yep, Bob Hermanson, appreciate the comments. So just a small amount of background. So these items for me, and that's why I'm personally the one that submitted the application, is that, so I deal with this with all the cities, right? And they're varying, most of the other cities are at 10. That's just laying brickwork for you. Where I run into issues is just from a density perspective. It hurts density. Does it have its place? For sure. Should it be 15 on larger scale roads like that was pointed out earlier? I could get my head wrapped around that. But if that's the case, in the applications that I deal with, that's 5% of the time. So now we have a code based on that discussion is references 5% of the time. Maybe a suggestion would be that we define a right-of-way that's larger, and then everything from there up is at 15. Everything that's down below, that's in a smaller 50-foot right-of-ways and inside the internal subdivisions, then it's a little bit tighter because it's slower, it's not noisy, there's less traffic, there's those things. So that would be my discussion. But across the board, that's what I'm running into just citywide, is that it's 15 no matter where I'm at. It's not scaled to anything, it's just 15. And in my opinion, to somebody that's observant to the extra 15 feet, no question you can see it. Is it justified with the current landscape standards? In my opinion, if it's done to your current standards of landscaping, the landscaping is great. It handles it very well. It buffers the noise, it buffers the sound, it buffers the pedestrian differences between the back of sidewalk and the wall. And so in this scenario, this is a bit dated, is that those larger areas are the old school landscape standards, and there isn't as much landscaping. But your current standards, I think, are great. I think they really do accomplish it. And so the combination of the new standard of the landscaping with the 10-foot, and then potentially a consideration of like, maybe you consider it from 80-foot right away and larger, which this is, I can't remember, what's Washington Fields right here? It's really large. It's 106, yeah, so obviously this is way larger than even that is. But maybe from there up, that would be the consideration. But the other item is that you have 5-foot sidewalk, and then just as Eldon said, depending on which right-of-way you're in, an additional foot to the right-of-way line, and then another 10 feet is what I'm proposing. Right now, you would have 5, 1, so 16, plus 15, 21 feet of nothing. Now you have somebody to landscape it, somebody to maintain it, all of those things, and you have a huge corridor. You know, now, because that's a landscape, that's outside the 106-foot right-of-way. So in that case, you'd have an additional 32 feet of space.
How did we get to 32 feet from 15? Walk me through that.
Both sides.
Sides of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now your scale of this road is already really big with no landscape strip. And then it's very significant as a point.
I mean, I like the idea of scaling it according to the size of the road. I got on my kid's scooter a week or two ago, and I rode down all this road and over into industrial to go get a truck that I had some work done on. And when you're riding on a scooter or on a bike, you can feel it. It just feels different having a little more of a buffer. It feels nicer. You're going to attract more kids out to play. You're going to get more people walking on those roads. There's just, like, we want to entice people out to walk on these big sidewalks that we're investing in. And I think that it feels different when you're walking in a narrower corridor versus a larger one. So I still think that personally, I don't want to trim the code down to the narrowest exception. Right now, you're saying, well, we don't want to make the code the broadest exception. And I'm saying, yeah, and I don't want to make it the narrow exception either, because there are lots of thoroughfares that I think need that bigger space. So I wonder what it could look like to do some kind of a scaled.
Yeah, there'd probably just be, it wouldn't be a graduating scale. In my opinion, it would just be one, like, meaning there's two scenarios. There's either under 80 or over 80. It's either 10 and 15. That, it would get super complicated to keep track of if
Yeah,
it
yeah, I
got
mean,
crazy.
that's-
Yeah, but if it, like, but if you had the larger roads, that were 15, and then the other ones, I think it'd be close, yeah.
Our 80-foot roads are only going to be 2 lanes and a turn lane, basically, correct?
No, you would have, on the 80s, you'd have 5, yeah, you'd have two travel lanes each direction and then a painted median.
On 85?
In the 80s, right? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so what, but from under 80, they're,
3 lanes.
what's Sandia? 3 lanes? 2000 east, whatever you want to call it.
That's a 66, so that's gonna be 3 lanes.
Yeah, that one, it's not supposed to be a major one, but it is until we get our light in that's going.
Got a 5-foot wall though that you feel when you drive through that area, right? You feel the closeness of that, and that's.
Yeah, because it's tucked in tight because the old standards, they're right on property line. I do like landscape strip. I understand what you're saying. But if we do this, I think.
Yes, Sandias is probably a good example of no landscape strip. Like there is a good, that's a good example of we need something.
Yeah, and I think.
Yeah.
And I think a 10-foot is fair on that. Like we're saying, under 80, they go 10 feet because it's not as wide of a road. But I also think that if we need to stop the PUDs from asking to go to a 10, because that caused the problem on the Fields Road.
I was going to ask about that. Why, like, it seems like
It was in a PUD.
staff have a guideline for, like, I don't see why staff would give a 10-foot PUD on that big of a thoroughfare. Why do we do that? Is there like some kind of a guideline that you're following there? Or is it just kind of like ask for it? Yeah, so,
Yeah, missed it.
yeah.
That one
So-
probably got missed, yeah. I can't say that there's a staff rule that made that one per se allowable.
Yeah.
We had Holden pull up our master transportation plan, just so you could get an idea of what we're talking about with the different roads. So with the discussion of our 85 or above, so our minor arterials and our major arterials, so the pink and the yellow roads would be the ones that we're referencing that would keep the 15-foot, and anything, the orange, blues would all stay with the 10-foot. So
Right,
you're
wait a
talking
minute,
Washington
though.
Dam Road, you're talking Telegraph, you're talking Fields Road, Merrill.
What goes in front of the intermediate school?
The what school?
The intermediate school.
That's
Washington Fields Intermediate, that road that goes down, I don't know, comes off
Majestic.
of
It's
Majestic Drive?
But it changes.
Yeah,
Dan's got to
goes
meet
back and forth.
Mandarin.
But it would
Like-
be,
That'd be 10.
it'd be the 10.
I'm gonna say, but the landscape currently on that road has the meandering trail that goes along it, so it's gotta be areas of 15.
Yeah, if
Because
we
of the power
end up with
lines.
a master plan trail in there, that would tweak it again because of the fact that there's a master plan trail, so then it would have to, we can make it work with even the 15, because we would take the sidewalk out and you'd have a full 15-foot from back of the curb to, the privacy wall that we could meander the trail through and still have your landscaping around that, so.
Just out of curiosity, what would it look like to do one click lower? Like if this is the 80-foot, what's the next one below that?
That's your blue, that's the major
Blue.
collectors, yeah.
The other is.
That's
it's
a
like
significant
everything else,
portion of
not a
roads.
middle ground.
Yeah.
It's tough Because a lot of those roads, you know, where kids are biking to school, those are the kinds of roads where you want a more attractive, you know, path for those kids. But it looks like there's not a middle ground between the two.
Yeah, I would say once you get down to those major collectors, 66 and stuff, our recommendation would be if you want to go with the proposal that Bob's talking about is, yeah, we'd go with the minor arterials and the major arterials with the wider 15-foot, and from there down, we'd go with the 10-foot.
That's what I would say. And like I said, is just make it so that even the PUDs can't suck it in. Because that's
Yeah.
that's the biggest, on one side and the other, it doesn't look right. I mean, yeah, they have the right to ask for it, but we need to change it so that they can't in the PUDs. Just because it makes it harder, I mean, because it slips through and we miss it.
And that
Because
would
there's so
actually,
much else going on in the PUDs, sorry.
no, sorry, I interrupted you. That would actually solve my planning issue if it was 66 and up, right? That's what we're saying? 85 and up, sorry, 85 and up. Then I would know when I'm trying to plan a community, because it doesn't sound like much to you guys, but when I'm trying to design the entire site and the amenity package and the building footprints and the whole thing, and we just wrap this whole thing into one big package, that extra 5 or 6 feet, it's surprising how many times it breaks a project. Like it really does. I'm not exaggerating. Like it really does make a difference. And so, but yeah, if it was that 85 and above, and then I know, and then it feels flexible right now because it's so big. But if it wasn't, and this was a 10 in the 15 and that line in the sand there, then I know from this time forward, it's not flexible. Like it's 10. Yeah, and then all of a sudden now I'm not bringing it forward. The risk on your guys' end when it shows up with me or anybody else that it gets missed is gone, in my opinion. And it really helps it, right? So that would be great with me. I think that's a good idea, John's. Yeah.
Chairman, I might interject here and just kind of pull back to talk more about process. This is really good discussion, and I think it's the discussion that the applicant had hoped to have with you, so thank you for having that. There's several methods to how city code changes. One of them is by request of a citizen or an applicant, and so that's the process tonight. We allow those to happen. Maybe once every 2 years is the pace that those are coming right now. Not, I wouldn't call them common, but they happen. The last one was from a company that installs and maintains metal awnings. And some of you will remember that. So they came and discussed a couple times a change to the city's code about awnings. So that's the provenance of this one. That's how it got here. This one went through some internal discussion with staff, and arguments can be made on both sides. But the question was, is this a land use ordinance? Because state law requires all land use ordinances be subject to a public process and a public hearing. So tonight's purpose was to have that process. And then your role is to recommend and amend and work on it and send something to the city council. They're the ones that'll decide whether or not to pass anything. But yeah, so tonight's role is, I advocated that this is close enough to land use applicants that we should treat it like a land use ordinance and give it a public process. So that's what we're doing, and I think it's been a great discussion. So any motion tonight doesn't have to say we approve the application. It would be we recommend it to the city council for consideration. And I think you can add some of these ideas to it. And yep, it can go to the city council looking a little different than you received it because of the review and recommendation step that's part of the land use law change process.
Saying that as well, and knowing that the Washington Dam Road very well, where that would be enforced on a wider landscape. I mean, yeah, I'm a little biased because I have property on there, and my landscape's not 10 feet, but I'm industrial, so does this apply to the industrial as well? I mean, it's not like you can make me change it at this point, but.
You might have some grandfathered.
Right, I mean,
Right.
we've been there for a while, but I mean, if it's industrial and it's a major collector, I don't see that being an issue with the the big setbacks because they are wanting more land. It's not a walkable area. It's not, you don't have as much in the industrial areas. In the commercials, yes, in residential, yes, but when you get to the industrial, I don't think we need to be landscaping it all the way out on these major collectors. I mean, they need as much road as they can if we can, we're already giving them the wider roads there. And I believe we need wider roads in a lot of our industrial areas. But for the landscape too, it's gonna shrink our sizes that we already have out there, and we need more, bigger lots for that out there. That's just something that I was bringing up. Because if it's industrial, and it's a major collector, we don't.
We also talked about in the past, we haven't ever done anything about it, but we've talked about, because on a lot of PUDs, we've kind of recommended this. It's commercial land. It's oftentimes preferable to shrink the landscaping at the corners so they can have a right-in or a right-hand turn. And a lot of times because of the landscaping, they can't put one in. So then you have more traffic issues. I mean, I think it's the same thing. If it makes sense in industrial or let's say
For right turn lanes.
corners, right turn lanes or whatever into commercial property.
That should be exempt,
preferable than
yeah.
a 15-foot buffer in that area, not the
Yeah.
whole entire project, but
Yeah, just in
I
that
think we should
area. yeah.
prioritize better traffic over having a ton of.
So is that commercial or specifically industrial?
Well, what Corey's saying is for your right turn lanes where you peel off to turn in, which we want that so that it's not backing up. And the landscape should be able to shrink down right there
Yeah.
because it is a turn lane.
Yeah.
And if you are on your bike or something, you need to be paying attention
it's
because it is a
crosswalk
turn
coming
in
up
lane.
anyway.
So
Yeah.
if we allow them to have some of that as a right turn lane in on corners, I think that's a good idea. Like I said, this is just a process. We're not approving any of it tonight, but
Yeah.
it's a thought, and I think that
Well, like-
that should be exempt or part of the landscape where they turn in on
And
the
here's an
right
example,
end.
at Whammer, for example, when we were talking about that, I mean, originally, they weren't gonna have that right in there because of the landscaping thing, and that was one thing that we kind of amended to make sure they had those right ends on that, which helps traffic a ton.
Yeah.
If we would have been a strict 15-foot buffer, they may not have been.
Yeah, it feels like it's pretty dependent on the street. Because even where it might be industrial, like we've got another issue coming up on, First East or whatever that is down at the bottom, where they're wanting to change it, from residential to commercial, whatever. But where there's residential around it, again, we want the continuity of having it feel like a kid can get on a bike and travel that and it's gonna feel good. Parents can go on a walk and it's gonna feel good from point A to point B, even if you pass a little bit of something that's zoned differently. But when you're out on Washington Dam, where it's like a mile of industrial, that's so different. And so how do we find a policy here that aligns and balances the different interests elegantly?
I think with residential, I mean, I think the 85-foot road and above is a really good idea for that. Like, I mean, I went through and I drove a lot of them, but I also looked through, Google Maps and looked at all these different ones. And with 15-foot, you get 2 layers of landscaping. Now, with that said, it depends on how much money they spend on the landscaping.
Yeah.
Looks nice, and some people, it's just a sea of gravel. Look nice, but you're right, you go to 10-foot and it is a single tier. But I think that's a great idea, what you said, that big roads need it, smaller roads don't. But I think industrial, we need to prioritize the industrial land, and that can maybe go to a 5-foot or something.
Yeah.
Commercial, size road it is, whether it's 85 and above or 8500, if we happen to have commercial come into that, it has those same standards. It's just we have an exception where, turning lanes can cut into, to the landscape requirements.
That combined with eliminating the PUD option,
Right.
I think that's a pretty good
has to
balance.
follow
That seems like a
so that-
pretty good middle ground. Yeah.
Yeah, a little more uniform.
To extend that on the industrial, commercial areas, we have ordinance, the standard for those industrial and commercial areas is 10 feet of landscaping.
Thanks, fine. I still think we should say, look, commercial can go into the landscape area for 4 turns if need be. One other point to this, just, and I think we're all in agreement about 85 and above, but one part with it, I agree it looks better to have more landscaping, but from a financial standpoint, I mean, I'm just looking at it, like, let's say you got, 60, 70 lots in a subdivision, and, you're taking 5 feet off the back of them, that's about 1 lot worth, right? So let's say that's about $3,000 per lot that you've added in cost, but it's not just that. What Bob is saying is sometimes the whole thing doesn't fit anymore because of your roads and everything. Like, I was looking at a project here just as an example, and it would, like, taking 5 feet off like that would cause you to lose like 10 lots on the other side, just because it won't fit anymore. So that's adding $30,000 per lot of expense just to add the extra 5 feet there. And like he said, that'll make it to where the project just doesn't work. And so sometimes it just doesn't make sense at all. And people are always like, how do we make housing more affordable? One way we do is, the more exactions that you make from the city, where you're taking from, the landowner to, hey, if you want this project to go, so you gotta do this, this, and this. There's a balance of, you do some things if it makes it nice, but if it makes it so expensive that no one can ever live there, then it defeats the purpose.
I think that makes sense, and I think you know a lot more about like that side of it. I think just as somebody who's not as deeply experienced in that side of it, for me, I think about where I lived, Heritage Fields. It just has this little tiny setback that is, it's not aesthetically beautiful. Anybody who wants to sell their home in our neighborhood, whoever is driving with their realtor along there, they're turning in there, the property values are going to be worth less, and the kids are less likely to go get on the path. So I think it's like a balancing of all that. Like, we have to build for long term. What do we want our city to feel like in 10 years, in 20 years for our kids and their kids? And at the same time, how do we increase density? How do we do it elegantly? And how do we make sure that everybody's kind of paying their part of it? Everybody's kind of like, we're all chipping in to make this nice, not just, it's not too burdensome on one individual builder or the city or whatever. It just,
When ultimately it's the people buying the houses that don't.
yeah, that pay for it, yeah.
I mean, so with that said, I think that's, I think 85 and up is great for the 15. Smaller than that is good for 10. Commercial and industrial stay like they are, but we allow returns on, on commercial and industrial. Yeah.
So this is a public hearing, and I'll open this up to the public if anyone would like to speak on this one.
Jared Bates with Rosenberg Associates. I just want to give me my 2 cents. I feel like the landscaping should be independent of the zoning. It should be based on the right of way. So for example, perfect example right here, what you're looking at, you've got Whammers on the left here that's got this smaller landscape. The people in the street don't know what the zoning is. You drive by and like, hey, it's smaller, this is weird, like you said. So to me, I think it should be just based on the right of way specifically. And I think, obviously if you're commercial or industrial, there's a setback there independent, right? So, and typically there's landscape requirements. Maybe you can get around, maybe you can get more credit for landscaping somewhere else as part of the site. So that was my thought. And I think as far as the road size question, I agree with, that 85 and lower should be, should just be the 10 feet. Because sometimes, like Bob said, if you're like in a regular subdivision, hey, it's R110, those are harder to make work versus like a PUD. It's like the R110 should get the credit, not the PUD, to have more perks or opportunities for landscaping, not the other way around. So that's my thought.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing portion of this, and we'll look for a motion. Approve it with what I'm feeling here. It looks like an approval, but we'll approve it with our recommendations of what was discussed tonight to city council to let
This
them
is
change
just
it.
for, are talking about commercial, and that wouldn't particularly apply to this though, or would it?
So we do not want to convolute the two. It absolutely, yeah, and I was going to go there. This is, yes, you hit the nail on the head with that. Commercial industrial has their own area, a different standard that they're held to.
85 foot and smaller are 10 foot, and then larger than that are
85 and
or
above.
85 and smaller.
85 and above.
15. Okay.
Yeah, I would say greater than or equal to.
All right, I'll make a motion then. I'll make a motion to recommend approval to amend City Code 10-3-3, Section C, subsection 2V, preliminary plat, form and content. And where are we at? As outlined with the addition to say that all right-of-ways 85 feet and larger, correct? 85 feet and larger, stay at the 15-foot landscape strip, and all right-of-ways, all public right-of-ways smaller than that go to 10-foot landscape strip. And that PUD zoning is not exempt from this requirement.
Davis seconds that motion.
First by Commissioner Anderson, and second by Commissioner Davis. Individual voting, Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Aye.
Commissioner Tupel.
I'm a nay on this one.
I'm Commissioner Bullock. I am an aye as well. So we'll send this to City Council with a recommendation for approval. Item 4C, G-26-01, request to amend the general planned land use map from the BUS business to the MHD, located at 920 South and 100 East. The applicant is Jared Bates, and we'll turn this time over to Eldon.
The applicant is proposing to change the general plan land use map to medium-high density here from Business Park for the purpose of developing the area into an attached townhome development. The surrounding general plan, pull that up. Is PUDC to the north, open space to the east, business park to the south, and industrial to the west. Existing uses and zoning surrounding the site. Here's the zoning map. You can see include PUDC to the north, which are storage units, PUDC to the east, which is the river wash area, PUDC to the south, which is vacant land slated to be commercial, and industrial to the west, which includes Geneva Pipe and the FM Medical Facility. Staff has reviewed the requested change, visited the site, and reviewed long-term planning for this area. Staff does not feel comfortable with the proposed amendment as it creates conflict in land use adjacency compatibility with both existing and future uses. The shift from an employment-based business park designation to residential creates an interface conflict. The operational requirements of the surrounding industrial uses and future businesses are highly likely to negatively impact the residential life safety and quiet enjoyment of future residences at this location. Staff recommends the Planning Commission recommend denial of G-26-01 as outlined above, and that's due to the interface conflict of uses as previously stated, and this will be passed along to City Council. I'm happy to answer any further questions you may have at this time.
I have a question. Why would you propose something that you want to deny?
Applicant has the permission to ask whatever he wants from us, whether staff agrees with him or not.
Correct.
Well, the administrative process and the land use process doesn't stop just because staff might not see it as good or adequate. And so we'll bring it to you. Doesn't have to make a recommendation, but as cities develop and build out the org chart, it's very common that there'll be somebody that represents a position from the city on the application.
Okay, thank you.
Do you guys have any questions, or should I open this up for public comment? All right. We'll open up item 4C to public comment, if anyone here would like to speak to this.
And Wes Davis is actually on the line. I don't know, Wes, do you want to start? Can you hear me?
Yeah, happy to answer any questions if there are any. Thanks for having me on. I think it's important for the Planning Commission to note that this process was started, I think 4 years ago, when there was some debate over the property and the use of the property and the family that was going through some legal challenges. And we worked closely with the city at that time so that we would purchase the upper section and the city would purchase the lower section, which the city then did, that is potentially going to be cemetery, parks, whatever, lots of different uses. But at that time, when we had the discussion with the city, and Thad was a part of some of those discussions, so he could probably confirm somewhat of what I'm saying, we brought in a plan that had originally shown, hey, this is our intent. And we did 3 or 4 different renditions, which showed this parcel being townhomes or multifamily type development. And then the rest of it being commercial. And even across the street, we have that little 4 acres triangular piece that was also going to be commercial, had some storage units designed on it, some other things, lots of things that we went through. So the requests that were coming in now should not be a surprise. It was in line with kind of what we presented to the city back then when we came through for our plan amendment to go to the PDC. It was suggested that we just put in a bubble plan, which is what got approved. And in the PDC, residential is allowed as part of the use. And so, again, it shouldn't be a surprise. It's been in discussions for years. This is what we've been presenting. The applicant just feels that he's ready to start, or I should say the owner, I guess I'm part of the applicant, but the primary owner wants to develop the property, feels it's time to start developing. And the only thing that really makes sense at this time is to start with the residential so that we can build traffic count, we can build rooftops, we can start to build other things that will then support a future commercial development there on both sides of the corner on 100 East and Industrial, and also allows the city, which I think the plan is to extend Main, and Main will then connect onto this street. I believe that's what the plan is to be, and that's also going to take time. That's not ready to go today. And so I guess the alternatives for the owner, he's thinking, man, this is a great commercial opportunity for us and for the city long-term. It doesn't make sense to do it now. The residential, which is allowed in the PDC, does make sense to do now. Let's start with that. And then any changes, modifications are all going to come back through the city again. So it's not like they can do anything without city approval in the future. It all comes back through the city again. And that way the city gets a win, we get a win, we get to start now and kind of develop the property and build and get some momentum in the area. And I guess the other alternative is, hey, if we've got to develop now, the only other potential use is industrial, and then eventually this will just all be warehouse and flex space, and it's a lost opportunity for a potential really good commercial property, commercial corner. And so the request is consistent with what we've talked to the city and proposed for years. It's nothing new or different. I know Eldon may or may not have been, he may have been on the back end of that. So I can appreciate his stance and his comment. And I don't fault him at all for that. That's his position. It's fine. but I think it's important to note some of the context of kind of where we're coming from.
Chairman, if I may, since Wes referred to me, I'll give you a little bit of response to that. Wes is correct. There was a dialogue between the trust's realtors and the trust's trustees about land use concepts for the different parcels of land here. But he's also right that it was 4 years ago and a lot has changed. Just as a few examples, when that dialogue happened, there wasn't a Main Street interchange, and that traffic pattern impact hadn't yet been felt by the city, and the city now feels that. And I think that flows into the recommendation tonight. The property due north of this piece, during the 4 years, changed the zone and built and opened a storage unit, commercial storage unit facility. And so that one went from agricultural to commercial in the 4 years. The parcel due west went through a zone change and now has a commercial office building on it. And the city has now planned for the first leg of the Main Street extension. And I believe that's funded in the next year's budget. The budget that begins in July will have the first phase of that road project. And so I believe Wes told you the truth. I also believe that in the 4 years that have passed, circumstances have drastically changed in this region. And the applicant didn't come and oppose the storage units, didn't come and oppose the office building. And so things have happened through the proper land use processes that have changed the conversation down there as well.
But does that change that, our ability then to, the potential of PDC of having commercial mixed in with residential? That didn't take away from the provision in the PDC that allows for both, or does that?
The PDC didn't vest any label on any piece of land. It was left more vague than that. I don't think it changes the language of your approval.
Okay.
But it does, now that you've got commercial to the north and commercial to the west, I think that does impact staff's review of the application that it's received.
Sure. And that's part of the reason why we did want a little higher density multifamily, is also to transition, instead of being single family standalone houses. These are affordable houses that are going to be standalone patio homes. So they're on, that's the intent, right? I guess we haven't come in with the final plans design because we're trying to get through this step first, but the intent is to have affordable standalone patio homes or detached townhomes, whatever you want to call that product. So it is a little bit of a transition type zone versus straight single family residential.
I'm just going to piggyback off the zoning here. We have PUDR and PUDC. This whole property is zoned PUDC, which is primarily commercial based. Wes is exactly right. They're allowed or permitted to do residential in there, a mixed use type product. Conflict here is we don't know how it's going to blend and mesh and coexist with the commercial. So if a property is zoned PUDC, you can't come in and build residential units. We need to see the mixed use component to how it blends, meshes, buffers, tapers, and feels.
Which, I mean, we can spend 10, 20, 30, $50,000 doing that now and then have it go down the toilet, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 years when it's viable commercial, do it again. But anything that comes in, there's a dividing road, right? That's going to be proposed in between the residential and the commercial. So there is a road that separates the two. And then everything that comes along on the other side of the street will come before the city council and the planning commission and staff to get approved. And they will have all the input to, when it comes through and it's viable. It just kind of seems like a waste of maybe time, or not the best use of time and money, to design 15 acres that's never going to be built exactly that way, because just as the things have happened over the last 4 years, I'm sure things are going to change over the next 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is.
Okay. Yeah, this is the public hearing. Does anyone else have anything to say? Okay, we'll close the public hearing, and if we have any questions for the applicant, we'll ask.
Sounds good. I'll mute myself.
Thoughts?
Just to clarify too, this is Commissioner Mitchell, on the other corner, kitty corner from this development was another approval of storage and commercial. I mean, I remember that, the Theobald
Yeah.
project as well. So they will be fully surrounded by
Industrial.
industrial, commercial.
And it'll be just an island of townhomes in there.
I think it's an appropriate spot for homes anymore.
I understand what he's asking, but he's asking for a zone change, right? A general plan amendment. Well, that would, where it's already general plan PUD, help me remember all this, because I can't. If we're general planned PUDC, they can come in, the 15 acres, or whatever it is, the 8 acres, and it's proposed medium-high density, but if it was PUDC, which is what it is right now, right? You can come in and have mixed use in there with houses in with it. And if, I think we're changing the zone. I mean, it is what they asked for at the beginning. I mean, and to have the storage units and everything else all the way around it, I don't love it. I don't like the idea myself. I mean, whether if staff would have recommended approval or not, I still, looking at it, it doesn't make sense.
Commissioner Davis, I mean, I have the same concerns. I look at this and, you know, we've been living through, you know, the bit of the Washington Dam Country Way situation. We have homes that, yeah, and this isn't to the scale of that, but I think we also, you know, have a responsibility to be sensitive to that. And I don't see the fit. You're talking about dropping 70 units in there. 70 homes, 70 households. It's going to be you know, I think when the dust settles, I can see that as a very difficult living situation.
Commissioner Mitchell, I agree, and I think Commissioner Davis well said. It's unfortunate that this individual that owns this piece of property has, you know, seen the changes. Like, I get the frustration, right, trying to, you know, plan. But under the current circumstances and what has taken place, I do feel like it would create more of what you just said, Country Lane and the industrial out there towards the dump, that is created multiple concerns and homeowners that are very unhappy, and a conflict between commercial, industrial, residential. So why create another situation just like that?
I agree. The other question I have is, we're not planning on a road going from 100 East over to 300 East Washington Fields Road right there, correct? I mean, it just dead ends right there, that one.
Sorry, this is Wes. Yeah, there was a road at one time, but it's not connecting through. We would just go, the road that we're talking about would just go, be the access that's currently there that would go down towards John Kirkland's current property. And Thad knows where that is.
It's right there on the map, yep.
I was just wondering if it was gonna connect over on that road that just kind of dead ends right there. It looked like it, originally that might have been a plan.
Yeah, originally, an iteration of our master transportation plan, one or two back, 840 South was originally planned to come across and swoop up and connect across to 840 and stuff, but it was removed from the master transportation plan. And then, then when that was removed, then the storage unit deal came in, and so that kind of blocked the extension of 840.
And then the 100 Main Street, it's gonna come down, where's, I know this isn't part of it, but I mean, they brought it up, where's, I've heard it a couple times in this, the Main Street's gonna come down in,
Come down, and then we'll swoop over up a little bit further north towards Foothills, over that way, and it'll come down, swoop over onto 100. We'll make an S curve over onto 100.
100 East.
Yeah. So 100 East will come up and slide over and connect directly into Main Street, and then we'll.
Can you,
So right now, the city has township platted right-of-way farther south than Main Street extends today.
Yeah.
And then there's also township platted right-of-way at 500 South that's never been built. And so if you imagine, go a little higher there, Eldon, you'll see that pink line past the green. So Main Street right now ends right where that pasture starts. And then that pink line is essentially already owned by the city. It'll be a little farther south, but essentially it'll take a route connecting Foothill and then also connecting a proposed future road into St. George City that would create a east-west route there between essentially Mall, the exit 10 and 300 East kind of corridors.
so that blue line that comes, that's swooping up is gonna go away.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. It's what.
It'll just go up Main Street to the red one and go over.
Yeah, red, the pink that you see coming down on Main Street and where it turns blue and slides over to 100 East is generally about what we're looking to do with Main Street.
Oh, so that is the design for Main.
Yeah.
Correct. So there's a four-way intersection where
Okay.
where Foothill and Main Street will intersect. And then on the south leg of that, Main Street will, and there's just kind of wild land along Mill Creek right there. But that Main Street route will eventually come over and make a southerly connection to 100 East.
And then the blue one will hook in St. George where?
Well,
St.
By
George
Costco?
is,
That's highly debatable at this
Right,
point
I
in
know we
time.
don't know because it's St.
That,
George.
that connection there is, at this point in time, looks like it's going to shift away from that location. One of them that they're talking about is taking our 840 South across, bringing it up over there by Tag and Go and Pop, and bringing it in right there. And then there's conversation about coming up further up there to like 400 South or something and coming across. But the middle one is, the blue line that we have across is up for debate at this point in time.
That one makes the most sense.
So,
that one's also subject to St. George City and the landowner. We don't have the process that can exact that exact route from them, and so it's a cooperative effort.
Right, I mean,
Both the landowner and St. George City seem to acknowledge that there needs to be a connection somewhere. And so we feel like there's common ground that it'll happen, but exactly where is still subject to whatever plan it'll be. I think the last concrete planning we saw was related to like a medical center type project, and that one's road was a little different than this.
it depends on what's going in, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And that makes sense. But it will connect to St. George hopefully one day. Hopefully we're alive.
Yeah, so this is that what you're seeing on those lines, those general plan, master plan lines is 4 years with the interchange opening on Main Street, the traffic situation at this land is just changed substantially, a very significant change, and it's on the path to change a lot more here in the next few budget cycles.
Awesome, thanks.
This is exactly why the project we've had where people want to do a PUD piecemeal and sort of treat PUD like straight zoning. This is the kind of mess you get because it was granted PUDC 4 years ago with no plan of what it was going to be, and then there's no entitlement, there's no anything, it's just.
Well, it's just general plan PUDC.
I know,
Oh, but
it's
yeah,
already
because
zoned
he,
PUDC is what I'm saying, with no plan, so I think, I mean, if they want to bring some sort of residential in there, I mean, it's already zoned PUDC, and they can try some mixed use, and you know, he's right, it's gonna cost some money to figure it out and try to figure, but I mean, that's what it's zoned now, and if they want to bring some sort of residential, then they need to draw it up and show what it's gonna look like, and show how in the world the traffic's gonna work and how it's gonna blend in, and that's what it's already zoned as. I don't see any reason to change it, even if they want to bring in residential. I mean, they can put forth a plan or not, but I mean, it's a difficult area. It's a tough area for traffic and everything else, and you'll sell it, and then the people that live there, they'll complain about all the industrial and commercial all around them, even though they've been there forever and ever.
that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, it never happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look for a motion if somebody wants, unless you guys have any more questions on this.
This is Commissioner Davis. I'll make a motion with respect to item G-26-01 to forward on to City Council with a denial to the request to amend the general plan land use map from business to MHD located at 920 South and 100 East.
Do we have a second?
Was that the right number?
Yeah, 4C. He said action G-2601.
This Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
I have a first from Commissioner Davis and the second from Commissioner Tupou. Individual voting, Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Tupou.
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Bullock. I am an aye as well. We will send this to City Council with a recommendation for denial. Thank you. Item 4D, Z-26-05, a request to rezone approximately 11.5 acres located at 400 West of Merrill Road from the current R110 to the PUDC zoning designation. Applicant is Nate Schaefer, and we'll turn the time over to Eldon.
The surrounding zoning to this site is PUDR to the north, unincorporated land to the east, which is county, hasn't come into the city yet, R115 and R110 to the south, and St. George, commercially zoned property to the west. The zone change request is for the purpose of developing the site into a commercial development. Proposal, I'll switch exhibits here. The proposal shows a 15-foot landscape buffer along the south boundary to buffer existing residential, and a 10-foot asphalt trail adjacent to Merrill Road, which is part of the larger master plan trail network. And that'll be an east to west corridor and tie into St. George as well. Development is broken down into two different use lists, with use list number 1 encompassing 9.49 acres. It's outlined in red there. And use list number 2 encompassing 1.96 acres and is outlined in blue. It includes administrative, professional type uses. The larger site is asking for commercial type uses, which we'll get into here in a minute. The applicant has asked to defer the site layout and design plan at this time and fully understands they will need to submit these plans and gain zoning approval prior to any work beginning on the project. Today's proposal is seeking approval to establish ingress and egress to the site along with the use list. Pull up this exhibit here. You can see the proposed ingress egress starting on left side is a right in, right out, and then moving to the right is a full access movement, which should line up with 400 West there. And then down around the corner is a right in, right out as well. We can dig into the use list here. I'd like to start with use list number 2, which applies to the smaller, this blue area here. So if you keep this area in mind, discussing these uses that they're proposing, which include the first item, administrative, executive, professional, medical, and research offices. Line item number 2 is banking and other financial institutions. And lastly, mobile food vendor with a limit of no more than 3 vendors at any given time. And the purpose of that is to supplement existing businesses. They don't intend to have use this site as a permanent food court area, but more of just a benefit to the residents and a secondary use. Is there any items of discussion on those proposed uses before we move on? We can circle back if needed. The second use list, number 1, which is the larger site, includes a breakdown percentage of use. Down at the bottom here, you can see they're proposing 50% of the site will be retail, 30% of the site will be restaurant, and 20% of the site is office, which is a guarantee. In the next step of the approval process, we will make sure that those percentages are hit, followed through on. Line item number 1 is any permitted use list in the use list we just discussed. Line item number 2 is restaurants. Line item number 3 is retail sale and or rental of goods, merchandise conducted wholly within an enclosed building. And that applies only to inside sales only. Line item number 4 is 1 automobile vehicle lube service, not to exceed 0.7 acres. Line item number 5 is recreation entertainment facilities, not to include sexually oriented businesses. Line item number 6, technical schools, which is indoor only, and no auto mechanic related training. So wanted to just focus on inside, under roof type uses here. Number 7 is reception center and or wedding chapel. Number 8 is auditoriums, conference rooms, museums, theaters, and libraries. Line item number 9 is retail sales of goods and merchandise, which may include display outside and enclosed building. And examples of this include artwork, beauty shop, bookstore, clothing, and florist. And lastly is medical clinic. Staff recommends the Planning Commission recommend approval of this zone change onto City Council based on the findings and conditions stated in staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
This was just before us not too long ago, wasn't it, to change it to general plan amendment? I feel like we saw this was that what it was? We took it out of, what did we do?
Removed it from low density,
General plan,
correct, to neighborhood com.
okay.
And that was 2.5 months ago.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the steps that we did on this already.
You can see this pocket here, this will remain residential R110. I know they're planning to do bigger lots there. There will be no through connectivity. This road will continue north and then turn right or eastbound and connect onto 240.
So what's that?
So this is Commissioner Mitchell. I'm just curious, why did this happen all at the same time on the first?
It was just a general plan.
Okay.
So that's why I had to ask again too, because I get confused because of the steps we have to take to do it. It was general planned and then to non-com.
It probably makes sense that we do general plan and zone change at the same time. But because of the state statutes about general planning and zoning, both of which are required of municipalities in exchange for municipalities given the right to adopt their own zone designations and zone definitions, it's technically impossible to do zoning and general planning at the same time because the zone must follow what the general plan then bakes in for it. And so it would also be an opportunity for the public to complain that they weren't given an opportunity at both steps to be heard of what the general plan should be and then what the zone is. And so this certainly probably feels duplicative, and it is in a lot of ways, but it's given the public the opportunity to come and comment one more time on a land use decision that vests rights, and those rights, lead to future uses, and the public has a right to come and talk to us about that when we make those changes.
Eldon, I have a question. Remind me why what the applicant's mindset is around cutting out that block for R110 out of that instead of just doing the whole thing commercial?
Good comments. In that general plan amendment, it was discussed and brought up to transition and
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because those are bigger homes, so it's going to go to a lower density right there to buffer it. Is that correct?
yes, so they took that into account. They actually made that area larger. I can't remember if it was the planning commission or city council. They asked to, hey, let's make this area a little bit larger. The applicant heard that
Okay.
council, and here we are.
And now because those homes, it's like big, nice lots, would be right next to the NCOM, so they're going to do a little more, density. Okay.
And I believe you mentioned there's not going to be any through traffic to that piece that's underneath the panhandle, right?
Correct. No interconnectivity with existing residential.
Okay, this is a public hearing, and we'll open this up to the public hearing. Please come in.
So my name is Taylor Fielding. Full disclosure, I am currently the HOA president for Washington Fields HOA, which is the HOA just north of Merrill. I'm not here speaking for the HOA. I'm speaking on my own behalf. I am here because a couple of neighbors in the neighborhood did come to me because I am the HOA president with some concerns. But the fact I currently live on the corner of 240 West and 2500 South. So all the traffic that's being detoured off of Merrill along 2500 South is coming right past my house. So, and I was not aware of the plat change, or I probably would have been here and talked about this stuff first. I guess my concerns are the Merrill is already being widened to 5 lanes already. Obviously, it's going to be becoming a major thoroughfare. My biggest concerns is this area isn't within the walking boundaries of both Riverside Elementary School on Merrill. It's within the walking boundaries of Washington Fields Intermediate, just to the south. And it's also within the walking boundaries of Pineview Intermediate, formerly Fossil Ridge Intermediate. So like my daughter is in 5th grade this year, and she's going to have to go all the way over to Pineview Intermediate. I do have some major concerns about the increasing traffic in the area. So my concern is additional commercial. We already have the Paseo project going in next door in St. George. Is going to bring a lot of traffic, and so my concern is the increasing traffic in the area. Also, there is a lot of St. George City has a lot of open, undeveloped lots to the west of this that are commercial. So it seems kind of duplicative that they have there's open space there that isn't being developed commercially. So I would, in my personal opinion, I would be opposed to the zone change. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we will close the public hearing portion of this. Does the applicant want to speak?
Bob Hermanson, appreciate you guys' time. There were some comments on the last item about, generally, the question is, why are we doing it this way and not providing a full detailed site plan? In this case, where we went through and did the general plan, we currently don't have zoning. Like it's generally in that direction because the general plan is done, but we don't have that. And so the intent here is that to try to reflect the comments from the city council, which one of the very specific items was the blue area on the right, for the buffering with the basically professional office spaces, so that we buffer for future residences. So we wanted to detail that and be very clear about that. And I actually said that during the meeting at city council that I would do that, plus to further show the existing R110 lots that were there as well and define that. And that road basically just continues to the north, just slightly, hangs an immediate right and ties into 240. So it just immediately, that's as close to good. There's only like 4 lots that can fit right there. And they were sized and then upsized during those meetings and from those discussions. Then the other item is to match the consistency and be in harmony with the Paseos, to have, basically that first use list, which is restaurants, some retail shopping, and to be cohesive with those items. We also wanted to define the accesses. The accesses that Eldon went through were exactly what would like to do. And also being really clear, the goal is to be really clear with our design and our intent with all of these future users and with the developers, so that we can, speak clearly and say, hey, you have a right in, right out here. This is a full movement. This is a right in, right out, so that we can really see what it is, and then also define what the landscape strip is along the south, buffering everybody that's residential, so that so it's very clearly defined, so the parameters of those future commercial users and those layouts can be really cleanly guided right off the bat, so that there isn't any misguidance or anything else. And then we show up with a full plan and with a bunch of folks that we don't even have a zoning yet. We don't have anything. And so in this specific case, we don't have inherent zoning from the general plan. So I'm just trying to get to where that couple items ago was, so that I can present that in detail. And so that's why I've split it up. But I've also earmarked very specific items that we agreed to, and the access points, so that it was very clear on what was trying to be accomplished there for the next stage. Does that make sense? So that's why this one's a little different than the other ones. So any questions for me?
Thanks, Bob. Do you guys have any other thoughts, or we'll look for a motion? Yeah, we got it. We read it. And
Mr. Commissioner Anderson, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Z-26-05, request to rezone approximately 11.45 acres located at 400 West Merrill Road from the current R110 zoning to a PUDC zoning designations with the findings and conditions outlined by staff.
This is Commissioner Mitchell, I second.
I have first by Commissioner Anderson and a second by Commissioner Mitchell. Individual voting, Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Tupou.
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Bullock. I'm an aye as well. This will go to City Council with a recommendation for approval. And item 5 is adjournment.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I move that we adjourn.
Second.
I have first by Commissioner Mitchell, second by Commissioner Tupou to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll take a short break and then come back for land use. Welcome to the Land Use Authority meeting for March 18th, 2026. Item 1 is approval of the agenda. If anyone here would like to, if I could get a motion for approval.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I move that we approve tonight's agenda for March 18th land use meeting.
Davis seconds.
I have a first by Commissioner Mitchell, second by Commissioner Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 2 is approval of the minutes from the Land Use Authority from the March 4th, 2026.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I move that we approve the minutes from our previous meeting on March 4th.
Second.
I have a first by Commissioner Mitchell, second by Commissioner Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3 is declaration of abstentions or conflicts. Does anyone have any with tonight's?
No.
All right. Item 4A is a final plat approval for the Sam's Club Miners subdivision located at approximately 1720 East Grapevine Crossing. The applicant is Belliston Construction, and we will turn the time over to Sebastian.
All right, good evening. The applicant is requesting approval of the final plat for the Sam's Club minor subdivision located at approximately 1720 East Grapevine Crossing. The applicant is simply asking to separate a single commercial lot, which is 21.66 acres in size, out from the state lands with a single private road. So Scylla currently owns the property, and the applicant is just asking to remove that from their Scylla's ownership. The zoning is currently planned community development with the planned community development zone surrounding the site. Staff has reviewed the proposal and finds it conforms to the zoning regulations and subdivision ordinances for the city. Staff recommends the Land Use Authority approve the Sam's Club minor subdivision based on the conditions in this report. That concludes the report. I think the applicant's here so they can, help you guys with some questions. Thank you.
How does that work? I've never. How do we just take Sitla's name off something? I mean, why is it coming to us? Is it just in the title work? It's already done. I mean, can you educate me on that a little bit, please?
Yeah, Sitla is a constitutionally established public trust. When it was adopted, they were funded with land ownership on a just kind of organized, random dedication of lands throughout all corners of the state of Utah. And so ever since then, they've grown with the state of Utah in how they manage and maintain things. And the latest rendition of what they do for properties within Washington City, and my understanding throughout the state, is they will enter into agreements with development partners, and those agreements will be contractual only, and title will not change hands until the development partner brings Sitla to a real estate closing where funds are verified from a buyer. And at that time, Sitla will convey it at closing to the buyer. So it'll never be owned by the development partner, but development partner owns rights and exclusivity of the Sitla parcel subject to the agreement. But at closing, money's paid in, Sitla conveys title to the buyer. And in this case, it would be Sitla deeding to Sam's Club. And then the Sam's Club terms as to how profits are split will be handled between Sitla and the development partner. And so that's a very simplistic way of describing it, but that's the concept. And so right now, title is not changing hands, but we are proposing, I shouldn't say we, the proposal is to subdivide a parcel that would create a legal description that would go into a conveyance document for a closing like I just described. Does that make sense? And so we're putting into existence a legal description that if things go as planned, would eventually lead to a closing where this end user is purchasing for a price, Sitla's deeding to the end user, and then the development partner and Sitla divide costs and profits according to whatever their terms of their agreement are.
Okay. That makes sense.
It's unique and clunky. It also allows the Constitutional School Trust to void encumbering the school lands before they have verified that there will be a payment to benefit the school trust in exchange for an encumbrance. And so I think that's probably the underlying policy of this process, is a belief that it would be improper to allow mortgages or encumbrances on the title of the school land before the school trust has received the benefit of the purchase proceeds.
So it's wonky, but that's because SITLA itself is this aberration in that it's a constitutionally authorized real estate dealer, basically. And what happens if the deal falls apart after we approve this?
If the deal falls apart after this is approved, there will still be a defined and approved subdivision for a lot of this size and design. And that could either be sold to some other buyer, or my guess is it's designed right now at this shape and size specifically for this applicant. And so I would imagine it would get modified or amended for whoever the next.
And Sitla wouldn't be doing it unless it was, because they're the ones that approved for this type of work to go in here.
Correct. Sitla is very narrow in the concepts that they want for certain areas that they plan. And so this area was conceptually planned for this type of big commercial use. And so, yeah,
Right.
this is within the narrow scope of what they've kind of always seen this property to be used for someday.
So we have to give it its own subdivision so that Sitla can break it out and fund, and Costco or Sam's Club, Sam's Club can purchase, basically.
Correct. So this allows Sitla to sell as much as Sam's Club needs and no more, and still protect kind of the school's interest in the land without having any more than is necessary be encumbered by a sale.
Does the applicant want to say anything?
Hi, Troy Elliston. So technically, this almost doesn't really need to be done, because when the parcel gets signed off, but right now it essentially doesn't exist, right? There's no title for it. They create a patent, the governor signs that patent, and that patent's going to be signed based on these meets and bounds. And so really the fact that we're doing this is because the purchaser doesn't understand the state process. And so it's almost redundant, because they both serve the same purpose, right?
This also gives the purchaser a level of security that they don't have to go through another land use process.
Yeah.
That this is done and buttoned up before they sign the closing and pay the funds.
Yeah, and so even though we're doing this, it would never get signed until the governor has created that patent that creates this titled property. And then once it's titled, it owns fee simple, then it gets signed. So it really is that the organization that I'm dealing with is, I mean, it's such a big organization. They got so many people that they just don't understand, kind of that state process. So.
Easy enough.
Easy. Thanks.
All right, we'll look for a motion on this.
Commissioner Anderson, I'll make a motion to approve the final plat for the Sam's Club minor subdivision located at approximately 1720 East Grapevine Crossing with the findings and conditions outlined by staff.
Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
I have a first by Commissioner Anderson, a second by Commissioner Tupou. Individual voting, Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Tupou. I'm Commissioner Bullock. I'm an aye as well, and this passes. Thank you. Item 5A is a final plat amendment, a final plat partial amendment A for the High Chaparral Heights subdivision located at 1141 East Lost Ridge Drive. Applicants Kent Rasmussen, and we'll turn the time over to Sebastian.
The applicant is requesting approval of a partial final plat amendment to the final plat of the Chaparral Heights subdivision located at approximately 1141 East Lost Ridge Drive. The reason for this amendment is to simply remove the common and detention area from the southwest portion of Lot 1 and relocate the public utility and drainage easement alongside the street side of Lot 1, as is. That's the old exhibit, and the next page shows the updated location of the easements. It's just simply across the front of the lot. Staff has reviewed the proposed final plat partial amendment and finds it conforms to the residential 115 zoning of this development. The subdivision also remains in compliance with the subdivision ordinance of the city. Staff recommends the Land Use Authority approve the Chaparral Heights Partial Plat Amendment A based on the conditions and findings in this report. I can answer any questions you may have, but that's the end of this report.
I have a question about what staff said. You know, the engineer had a concern about moving that detention basin. Have you guys talked about that?
Yeah, so I did a site visit, and it's no longer needed. It's just they're able to direct the easements to the front without any concerns on the lot.
But Sebastian, has the engineer removed his concern? I guess that's what, I think that's probably what you're speaking.
Yeah, like why is he still
He
concerned about it?
expressed concern about where the water's going.
I wasn't aware of that. As far as I was aware, the engineer did not bring up any concerns with me, but as far as I'm aware.
Yes, like on here, he says, I have hesitancy in removing a detention basin. Where is that water now going to go? How is it being addressed?
Is that in the flow card? Is that a city comment? Maybe John could speak on that.
John's going to answer that for us.
Let's see.
Yeah. We don't have any issue. The detention pond was moved during construction. The plans were revised. We did some modifications to stormwater facilities and stuff like that. We meet all of our regulations and everything. There's not an issue at all with that removal of the pond. It's already gone.
Okay.
So it was just missed on that, just removing that area and stuff like that was just missed when we got to the final plat, and wasn't really realized until here recently that we had missed that. So it was already addressed during construction.
All right, this is a public hearing as well. If anyone here would like to speak to this. Okay, we'll close the public hearing portion of this and look for a motion.
Commissioner Davis, I'll make a motion to approve final plat partial amendment A for the Chaparral Heights subdivision located at 1141 East Lost Ridge Drive, subject to the findings and conditions in staff report.
Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
First by Commissioner Davis and second by Commissioner Tupou. Individual voting, Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Tupou.
Aye.
Commissioner Bullock, I'm an aye as well, so that passes unanimously. Item 5B is a preliminary plat approval for the High Deserts Omegas subdivision located at approximately 3450 South and 240 West. Applicants High Desert Omegas LLC, Bryce Jones.
So the applicant is requesting approval of a preliminary plat for the High Desert Omegas subdivision located at approximately 3450 South and 240 West. This particular subdivision is proposing 3 large estate residential lots on an area of 5.01 acres. Lot 1 is 1.66 acres, Lot 2 is 1.34 acres, and Lot 3 is 1.40 acres. The lot is zoned RA1 with the RA1 zone to the east, the residential 115 zone to the north, and the residential 112 zone directly to the south. The development would be accessed via a private driveway with a gated entrance. A common area and a landscaping area are both provided along 240 West. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends the Land Use Authority approve the preliminary plat for the High Desert Omegas subdivision based on the following findings and conditions in this report. that is the conclusion of this report.
Thanks, Sebastian. Do you guys have any? So this is a random question that, just because we brought it up earlier tonight, I mean, it doesn't affect this, but, so we got a 15-foot landscape on this one? Is that because they want to, or is it because that it's required because it's straight zoning? It's standard because it's straight zoning?
That's the rule as of today.
Yeah, I mean, if it goes and changes, they'd have to come back, modify this and move it to a 10-foot. Okay, that's what I was wondering. This is a public hearing too. If anyone here would like to speak to the public hearing, please do so. All right, we will close the public hearing. And if you guys have any questions or concerns about this, or look for a motion.
What is the zoning there? Is there still gonna remain like the irrigation that's currently? Actually, now I can't remember if there's still irrigation happening on that piece. There is. I mean, has that been thought of or addressed? Yeah, maybe Brenda, if you could just explain just.
Brandy Walker with Civil Science representing the applicant tonight. This is kind of a fun one. So this is a family subdivision. Son, father-in-law, and other son. So they have active irrigation from the irrigation canal company that they've actually tapped into the pressurized main out in 240 West. So they have water rights and shares, and they are actively watering the field. So when they quit watering, they are going to utilize their water shares in the form of a small neighborhood for their 3 homes pond, which is dual purpose for stormwater.
Okay.
That's it on that.
Yeah, they just have their private drive down the side.
They're making it a lot wider. If you notice, they have a 12-foot landscape buffer on the south. So they're really beautifying the development for long term. I mean, they're making it so somebody can't put their house and block in the temple. I mean, it's well thought out. But, yeah.
Commissioner Anderson, I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for High Desert Omega subdivision located approximately 3450 south and 240 west with the findings and conditions outlined by staff.
If Commissioner Davis seconds.
First by Commissioner Anderson, second by Commissioner Davis. Individual voting, Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Tupou.
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Bullock. I'm an aye as well. This is approved. And I'm on to item 5C, is a preliminary plat approval for the Toblerfield subdivision located at approximately 100 south and 200 west. The applicant is DLN Builders. And I'll turn the time over to Sebastian.
The applicant is requesting approval of a preliminary plat for the Toblerfield subdivision located at approximately 100 south, 200 west. This simple subdivision is proposing 3 lots on an area covering 0.55 acres. Lot 1 would be about 0.21 acres, and lots 2 and 3 would both be about 0.17 acres. The zoning designation at this location is residential 1-6 with the residential 1-6 zone surrounding the development. The proposed subdivision conforms to the approved zoning, and the request meets the subdivision requirements and other city ordinances. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends the Land Use Authority approve the preliminary plat for the Toblerfield subdivision based on the findings in this report. That concludes the report, and the applicant can answer any additional questions you may have. Thank you.
You guys have any questions?
Yeah, Commissioner Davis, just a question. Has the engineer, is he comfortable with the right-of-way? now?
Yeah, that was,
Didn't love it.
that's one of the items I just brought up is, they're requesting that we look at vacating a portion of the right of way. We've been slowly doing this in sections in the old part of town. As, redevelopments come in and stuff, we've kind of been trying to narrow the wide right of ways down to what our typical residential is now. The only thing that we're requesting is instead of just vacating the right of way for these 3 lots, that we would much prefer that we would vacate the right of way for that entire east side of the block so that it's uniform on that side. We don't have these jogs in and out as we're doing these. Sometimes we've run into more problems, so we're trying to do these in blocks, large segments. It just makes more sense. So we're good with it. It's kind of what we've been trying to do is eliminate these wide right of ways and,
This is a public hearing as well. We will open the public hearing. Okay, we will close the public hearing. And look for a motion unless you have any more questions for Brandy. Or staff.
This is Commissioner Davis. I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Tobler Fields subdivision, is it Tobler? Located approximately 100 south, 200 west, subject to the findings and conditions within staff report.
Commissioner Anderson, I'll second.
First by Commissioner Davis, and second by Commissioner Anderson. Individual voting, Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Tupou.
Aye.
Commissioner Bullock, I'm an aye as well. Item 6 is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
First by Commissioner Tupou, second by Commissioner Mitchell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Meeting next week, correct? In 2 weeks? Oh, we have a land use? Oh, I thought Bonnie said we didn't have anything. No. Sorry, just land.